Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is grab a 12 by 12 sheet of cardstock. I usually just use a plain cardstock, and then I'll go in and use designer paper to cover up the inside of it. And you want one that's pretty firm because you want it to be sturdy, so when you prop your easel card up, it has something to, you know, keep it stiff and it's not just going to fall apart. So all you need to do for this is like such a simple card, y'all. You're going to be amazed at how easy it is. Just take your 12 by 12 paper and cut it down to 6 by 12. Okay, set one of those to the side, and then cut your other strip of 6 by 12 down to 6 by 6. Okay, and then you got an extra 6 by 6 sheet. You can save that for another card. So that's all the cutting you're going to need to do, minus, you know, the decorating part. Okay, so take your 6 by 12. You can use a scoreboard if you want. I usually just fold it and crease it by hand. But you're going to take your 6 by 12 and fold it down to 6 by 6. Okay, I'm going to grab my bone folder just to create a good, nice score line right there, or a fold line. Okay, so you got your basic card structure right here. The only thing that you need to do to make the easel card is take this top part and you're going to fold it in half. So inward. So you're going to take the edge of this and fold it toward the center line of the inside of your card. And if you are going to score this, just take your 6 by 12 and score it at 6 inches and 9 inches, and then that will give you the same lines. Okay, so that is basically it, y'all. You can see how this will prop up to make your easel card. Now, I usually set this to the side, and I'll start working on my other stuff first, but you'll get the idea. What you'll do is you'll adhere all your other designer papers and your embellishments to this other 6 by 6, and then you're going to add ATG tape, any kind of glue, whatever you want to use, and you're going to attach it just to this bottom part, not the top, just adhering the top part, the bottom part down. So it'll be like that when it's flat, but then when you go to open it, you can prop it up just like that. So that's what we're going to end up with, but I'm going to go ahead and start embellishing the outside of my card, and I'm going to do that in a time-lapse video so you guys can just watch, and if you have any questions at the end, just let me know. The first thing I'm doing is I'm taking the blue gelato, and I'm just going to go over my stamp with it, and it creates a really pretty ink on there, and all I'll do is spritz it with water after I have it drawn on there, and just stamp it down to my cardstock. And I'm just going to do it along the edges because I'm going to put the designer paper on top of this, but I'm going to peel back a little bit of it and kind of curl the paper back. So this part will be showing whenever that is curled back. And I also wanted to tie in a little bit of blue because the card's got like blacks and creams and pinks. I definitely wanted to add some blue in there. So just stamp all the way around that. And now I'm just inking up the edges with a little bit of black ink. And I also distress up everything. I don't think I show it on camera here, but I always distress up all of my edges with my Tim Holtz Distress tool. I don't like anything to be like a clean edge. So here I am spraying this paper all along the edges with water, and this allows me to curl it back and kind of play with it, and it will keep its shape a lot better than if you're just doing it dry. Your paper will pretty much just tear. If you just mist it a little bit, it gives you a lot more play with it. So I'm just going all the way around the edge of this paper, curling it back in different areas. And I pretty much just use ATG tape to adhere down my layers of paper on top of each other when I'm doing a card. And then for flowers and other elements, I'll use hot glue unless it's something heavy or metal, and then I will typically use E6000 on it. So you can see there where the gelato stamp is showing through. And now I've got another scrap of paper that I had in my stash. I always keep all my scraps, so it's kind of torn like that already. So all I'm doing is inking up the edges of it. And now I'm inking up the edges of some packaging that I had in my stash. I keep all of my packaging too. And I really think it's fun to add those to your layouts or your cards. Just gives it a really funky element. So I'm adding that at kind of an angle onto the card with just some ATG tape. And then I'm going to add that other scrap of paper on top of that. I love to layer on cards. It's a really good way to use up your scraps, just tucking in different layers. I've taken a little piece of burlap from the kit this month, and I just kind of cut some of it off to make just a little bit of texture at the bottom of the card, and I'm just using hot glue to adhere that down. And that is a piece of a note card that I had left over, another scrap. I'm telling you, I keep every single scrap that I ever use, I keep, and I always end up using them. So I'm just taking that scrap and I'm just tucking it down in behind that little ad piece. And I'm taking a butterfly here, which I don't end up using it on the card. I start to put it on there, but I end up taking it off. But again, I'm just going over my stamp, and that is a Prima stamp, with my white gelato, and spritzing it with water and just stamping on top of that gray butterfly. Gives it a really pretty shabby look. And this is another piece of lace, again from my scraps. I had a couple yards of this, and this was all that I had left, so I always try to use those up on my card since it is such a small area. And again, I'm just using hot glue to adhere that down. And now I am taking a stamp. It's a Damascus stamp from my stash, and I'm taking the black gelato, going over it, spritzing it with water, and then stamping it onto my ribbon. Again, just using the gelatos as like an ink. And this makes the ribbon look so pretty. It was a white satin ribbon, and that black damask on top of it just looks really, really pretty. And the fact that you're spritzing it with water and it is the gelatos, it just kind of blends outward and bleeds just a tiny bit, so it's not very perfect. Now I'm just adhering it to the back of my card. I cut it in half so that I can tie a really pretty bow in the front, and I'm not wasting any of it. And I'm going to add a little piece of glue there too, just to keep it completely centered so I don't have to worry about it moving. And I'm just going to tie a bow there. There's so many different ways to tie a bow. This is the way that I found works best for me as far as keeping the bow shaped really pretty. If I try to tie it regularly, it ends up with the ends poking out all funny, so I've kind of developed this way over time. And I'm just fluffing out the top of the bow so that damask stamping is showing on there. And I always like to do like a fishtail cut at the end of my ribbon. I think it really finishes it off and makes it look pretty. So if you just fold your ribbon in half and then cut downward at an angle, you will get that effect. Taking one of the petaloo flowers from the kit this month, and the smooch spritz, and a couple of other flowers from my stash. I'm just giving them all a good spritzing. I very rarely put any flowers on anything that haven't been shimmer misted in some form or fashion. And I'm just applying those to the center of the bow and all the way around it. And now I'm gluing the end of that bow down just so it keeps the form that I want, and that is a wired ribbon, so that's definitely good for making a pretty bow. Now I start to put the butterfly down there, but I end up taking it off at the end of the video. But I did apply a little bit of glue to the center, so it made it look like it was more in flight than just flat. I've torn a little piece of the burlap off here, a little string of it, and I've tied it around the key there, because I want to tuck that string down in there so that the key still has movement and it's pretty much dangling from the bow and not just glued flat onto there. So I'm just using my bone folder to tuck it down in there really well. Again, using hot glue. Hot glue is my friend. I'm very impatient. I don't like to wait on things to dry. I've got some bling here, and I'm sure most of us do this, but just in case you don't know, it's always easiest to just, keep it on the transparency and kind of hold it around and cut it, and you can kind of see if it's going to be in the shape you want or the size you want, and then you can peel it off and place it on there because you already know what it's going to look like. And it is going up on a couple of different layers there, so I'm cutting a little bit of it off so that it stays down nice and flat, and I don't have to worry about it coming off. Okay, now I'm going to work on the base of the card. And an easel card, your inside of your card is going to show at all times because you're going to leave it propped up somewhere. It's a really good gift because it's able to be displayed. If it's a regular card, you're just going to close up the inside, so it's no big deal. But it's important when you do an easel card to have the inside finished off. So I've inked up all the edges, and now I'm adhering some designer paper to the inside of it as well, which has been distressed too. And to catch an easel card so it stays propped up, you want to use something to catch it so it doesn't fall down. I usually use lace. You can use anything you want from your stash. And I just wait till about this point, and I'm adding the ATG tape and then the hot glue to adhere that top part onto there. And you can see there's your basic structure already. Now we just need to add that lace so that it stays propped up and doesn't fall. I like to do a couple of layers of lace or use like some flat back pearls so that it definitely catches it and you don't have to worry about it coming undone or falling down, if you will. Again, just using hot glue. Dries really quickly. It's my friend. And I'm just using the hot glue one more time to adhere the black flat back pearls down. And that will be it for me in the card. I hope you guys like the easel card, and if you haven't done one before, I hope you decide to give it a try. As you can see, it's really simple. This can be as simple as you want it to be. You don't have to decorate it as much. But I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. If you have any questions at all, just leave me a comment below and I will get back to you. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day. Thanks for watching. Bye.